Yes, sir.
You you gave up alcohol.
I did.
Okay.
I did.
How long did you consume alcohol?
10 years.
Um, you drank for 10 years,
Hmm.
and why did you give up alcohol?
There are many reasons. Uh, well, I mean, it was actually a joint thing. My wife and I decided together, sort of independently, and together at the same time. We both had our own. We were both pushed far enough by it, and we realized we both had the same thoughts without until we actually, came together. But
What,
um, but to explain that further, one too many drunken nights, or losing your sense of what's in control of you, kind of thing.
did you feel like the alcohol was sort of controlling you?
Oh yeah, yeah,
Um,
for sure.
how so?
Couldn't Something that it couldn't not be in the house. You know, like you always, you even put that in front of other things. If you, I'm a musician, so you go to a gig and you you have to space. If you like me, I would space it out and make sure I made sure I had at least one drink. I couldn't just do a gig and not have a drink. Like it was always in control of me needing to have it in the house was probably the bigger one. Like it was if I always knew how much was in the house. You know,
Because you always consumed it. How
yeah,
often would you say you consumed alcohol?
daily, daily, yeah.
Okay.
And that's what they consider somebody that might have a.
But how did it change you? Did it change you when you consumed it?
It was cyclical.
Okay.
So it did. I mean, yeah, it made me more relaxed. I thought I may have felt calmer or relaxed. I thought it made me feel happier, but what it would do is you felt bad during the day because you were drinking the night before. So then you get to the end of your day and you still feel like worn down or stressed out or like just less of a human. So then you drink again that following night to feel better. And it's cyclical. You keep putting yourself into a physically bad place that is not healthy. And then you, to numb,
Describe feel bad.
you're like worn out. You either have a mild hangover or inflammation. I had a bad problem with like just random inflammation, pain, either in joints or other areas that I thought could have been uh, due to alcohol consumption. So,
And like,
or just tired, run down, just
okay.
like you just don't have, you feel more tired than you think you should at work or even in the following day.
Okay.
So,
So it affected your
yeah,
professional life, your personal
I was
life.
able to do most things,
Yeah.
but not at probably my full potential.
Yeah.
You know,
Okay. Um,
sleep wasn't great.
sleep wasn't great. How many hours?
Um, 6-ish hours roughly, but it wasn't great sleep. It was
Right.
if you fall asleep after you've been drinking, you're not going to get a good night's sleep.
Hmm. I didn't know that.
Yeah, you're not.
Wow. Is
If
that
you
typical of?
most people. Yeah, I mean, I shouldn't speak for anyone else's experiences with it, but that's what I've
Hmm.
understood.
And
You should definitely not like drink right before you go to sleep. Like drink up to or like an hour before. But that's again, I'm not.
who says that? Because a lot of people do, including myself. Like probably the last thing I do is drop whatever I've been drinking before I go to bed, but I don't
It
get great sleep.
uh, it's not. It's just I would say it's. And if you ever look into anything to do with what alcohol does to your body, if you look anywhere, any kind of documentation, books, internet,
Mm,
you'll find that out. Like that's where I couldn't say exactly where I learned that,
mm.
but I found it,
How
through
much did you drink? You said every day, but like,
every
give me
day,
like a equivalence. Like how
four to
many beers a day?
4 to 5 drinks. it'd be beer and wine, pretty much every
45 a day.
for probably 2 beers,
Mm.
depending. Some of them could have been strong beers, and then uh, glasses of wine as well after that.
And how? At what point did you feel like, would you feel any different after the first drink or the
It was a
second drink, or did
ritual.
you
It
have to
was
go
you
through
look
all?
forward to it all day.
Yeah.
You go through your whole day. It's then when you get it, it's just it's a yeah, yes, you feel different to the first sip.
Mhm.
The first, you complete the first drink, and then it's like you spent your whole day getting through it just to get to it, you know, just to get to that first drink of the night or whatever. Which usually was almost immediately when I got home.
Okay.
Yeah, and I knew if I had to, if I knew I had to go to a gig, I wouldn't have a beer before I left. If I was at the gig, I think I was pretty good at keeping it within legal limits,
Mm.
driving wise. For a while, maybe I wasn't. It was stupid of me. So some things I may have done, but another reason why, it's a huge weight off your shoulders
Mm.
to never have to think about, did I drink too much to drive?
Are the only changes, or well, not changes, but was the only impact on your health or professional? Was there any other impact?
Um, I mean, monetarily, I mean, if you want to talk about the before and after, I mean, I figured out how much I spent monthly on alcohol. It's not even what you go out, when you spend that much out. It becomes pretty much like your closest friend, or your main attraction, your main source of what you do socially. I mean, is that. But as far as how it made me feel, usually you think it makes you feel good, um, but then what else was negative about it was,
And by the way, feel free to not share anything you don't feel comfortable
no, it's
sharing.
fine.
Yeah.
I mean, hangovers are horrible. I mean, we've all.
Well, sorry, I wanted to ask, like, in terms of like monetarily, you said,
Mhm.
can you give us like a roundabout, like what's, because if I'm someone who struggles with alcohol,
Mhm.
right? I'm sort of looking at like, okay, well, what is too much? Like, at what point should I start at least questioning myself?
Uh, well, monetarily, we were looking at, like, between the two of us, I think it was like $500 a month, and it could have been more or less, depending on when how much as we went out. I mean,
Mm.
you can't.
Mm.
It could have averaged more than that. I think I haven't done the math in a while, but I think
That's
that's
good.
what it was.
Okay.
But what's too much? Probably don't want to ask me that.
Yeah, yeah, that's okay.
I mean,
No, no, no. I'm just trying to. I'm not really asking what's too much, but I'm trying to understand. Like, if I hear someone saying 500 a month, I'm thinking, okay, well, what do I spend? If I'm able to calculate it, but I'm not. I don't really add it up.
right. I mean, you don't.
But I know it's
It's just.
nowhere near
But I
that
mean,
because I'm cheap anyway.
we spend money like it's not like there's nothing that controls us in our life. I mean, we need food. We need other things that we're dependent on, and but I didn't want when I realized that this, which was probably more negative than positive, was controlling me. I was glad to get away from it.
So, you said, your wife and I sort of mutually, your wife and yourself mutually came to the agreement, but who brought it up first?
We were. It's sort of. I mean, we went to a party. I'm not going to give any timeline, and then we had to host some family the next day, and we had we way too much to consume the night before, and it wasn't fun, and then we were just, and then pretty much we went. It was then we decided, well, New Year's was coming up, and pretty soon after that, so we said, why don't we just we both. I don't to say who said it first. We both kind of had the same thought. Let's try to go through one event, not drinking.
Had you broached the subject in the past,
No,
or was this like the
no,
first time you
no.
brought
It
it up?
really was. It happened very quickly,
Mm.
independently and mutually at the same time. It happened It was. So then it was New Year's Day after that, and we sort of went for a walk with the dogs, and I think she mentioned something about a book that a friend of hers had had talked about, and actually separately from that, a friend of mine who is a musician recently also decided to quit drinking, and we're roughly about the same age.
And how did you react to him
I
making that
was,
decision?
I was, it was more or less, well, I mean, I just didn't think of it at people our age even consider, like, this is what we do. Why would I, you know, I don't have a problem, but I reacted positively to that. Like, well, then, if he can, it opened my eyes to like what I could do, you know.
So was there any benefit to that lifestyle?
To drinking, it's more socially acceptable. Um, I am more social when I'm not the most social person anyway, but when I was drinking, I definitely was, I was more fun at weddings. That kind of thing. Sorry, anyone now that I'm not as fun at those types of situations, um, but no. As far as benefits, I thought there were, and then I realized there were none.
Okay. And one of the benefits would be what? Just being more social.
Yeah, but it was right.
How are you handling being less social now?
Oh, I'm great.
Okay.
I love being home.
Yeah.
I love being like I'm a musician, so I have my gigs
Yeah.
and my bandmates
Mm.
and my wife and the dogs, and I know where I need to be, but I'm keep myself busy enough that I don't need to be.
Okay. So
It was
in terms
sudden.
of
We just both pretty much decided cold turkey. The very beginning of 2020.
right in the beginning.
Like, it, it wasn't a resolution, but it was January 2nd. Is our we realized that was the day we had. It had been a little bit since we really went nuts with it, but yeah, it was the very beginning of January of 2020. And then it was we had to, but she luckily, I mean, she was. I don't remember all the books that she read. I think Quit Like a Woman was one of the first books she read. And as I do, she read a book, and I would ask her what what she was reading about, as opposed to me having to read it. But I should have, but I appreciated that we would talk about it, and she would say things, as far as quitting, you just need to, you're going to create a void in your time and life, and you need to figure out what to fill that void with.
What did you feel it with?
Um, Other things to, usually it's, well, what else, if you're not going to drink alcohol, what are you going to drink? Water or sparkling water or like hot tea. We made new rituals at night. It was like hot tea and chocolate. It was like, that was
Chocolate, like hot chocolate,
or like dark chocolate.
like hot dark chocolate, like a drink, or
hot tea and like chocolate. That was our, like, we had to have something to look forward to
okay.
at the end of the night. Like, we ate dinner, we did this, and then we have hot tea, and then we have a little bit of chocolate, and then it feels good. The sugar, because your body's like so used to the sugar, and especially the sweet wine, or like with wine was a little sweeter. You need to replace that with something so you don't go crazy.
Yeah.
But that was.
Yes. What kind of withdrawals did you experience, if any?
Well, usually you would drink to numb. Not usually, but sometimes you would drink to numb certain like anxieties or feelings. So this wasn't a withdrawal, but now you had to learn how to deal with the feelings as opposed to numbing them. So now, whatever you're experiencing, it's like, well, now you gotta face it head on. So withdrawal would just be, like, I didn't go through any kind of real physical withdrawals that I knew of. Mainly more benefits, but it wasn't easy. I mean, you get bored. You don't know what to deal with yourself at certain times of the day. or the evening usually. You just
So you did you drink? You found yourself that you drank a lot of out of boredom and ritual.
ritual. Oh yeah, just like this is what you go to lunch on a Sunday. You go to a brewery. You're on your way to somewhere that's maybe in Philly. You stop somewhere. It's a brewery. I think you put it. You
Yeah, one of
you
them.
fit it, and then when you don't include that in your daily life in your life anymore, then you have to replace all those things you would do with something else.
Mm.
Find your favorite restaurant. Go to somewhere that's BYOB, that it doesn't involve alcohol. Go
Mm.
find things to do. Like we were outside a lot more. We found activities to do that just didn't include it. It does exclude
Was
certain.
that difficult to find alternatives and find substitutes?
In the winter, it was
Mm.
of 2020. It was difficult.
I
I'm trying.
imagine 2020 was a difficult year. It would have to be an especially difficult year just because one, a lot of things were closed down.
It actually worked in our favor that we weren't. It wasn't like we were expected to go out.
Right.
We could just be home and figure out. We actually were given a chance, in light of a horrible pandemic. We were given a chance to reset in our own way at home without having with. And we were. It wasn't like we had to choose. Do we want to go out or do we not?
Mm.
We couldn't. So we just didn't. And we stayed home and we had our own ritual.
In some ways, the boundaries are freeing.
Yeah.
Um, you had mentioned about having to face certain things because of um,
Oh yeah, the stress. Um, I mean, if you've whatever demons you have, like that'd be like dramatic or exaggerate, but like whatever you don't want to face or fight or mentally, if you stop drinking, they're not you can't. If you stop I'm assuming any addiction, you can't you have to. That's probably the main thing you have to realize is it's going to be there.
did you find that you had more demons than you thought, or more stressors? Or...
I just no, not. I knew I lived a stressful life just from work, but I just needed to find a new way to handle it,
Mhm.
and I think I did. I think I have. Through just whatever else I found to do, exercise, cooking, yeah, other things, music. It's a big one.
Yeah. How about the fact that you did it with your wife, with your
Hmm.
partner, or someone that you're living with? Did that have an impact on?
That was huge.
Yeah.
If I can't imagine how it would have been if this is something that we fought on, or if we didn't come to agree. Like I don't know if, that it was almost like a perfect storm that it had to happen that way because we had to help each other with this. I don't think we would have been able to do it like independently.
Any relapses?
Nope. No.
Any? What? When did you ever feel an urge to do it? Maybe not a relapse, but can you describe like your strongest urge to drink since?
Um, a couple of times when I may have been out somewhere and maybe I was with someone who was drinking and you can literally like the whole ritual of it you can map out in your head and then you're thinking about how it tastes and all that.
What stopped you?
Just I don't know, spite. I mean, just the sense that I've gotten this far, I don't need it. Strong will, something. I'm not sure. Just I sort of made a decision. I'm stubborn. Stubbornness is probably the word I was looking for. I'm very stubborn.
Mm.
When I put my mind to something that this is how I'm going to live. It's usually, in this instance, it's been for the better.
Beyond, sometimes people say when you stop one bad habit, or when you develop one good habit, it leads to another good habit, which leads to another good habit. Did you find yourself sort of forming more and more good habits besides, or dropping more bad habits
Yeah,
besides?
I mean, exercise came out of it. That sort of fell off the wayside lately, but I was taking care of myself better there. My diet got a little bit better. We were thinking more about the food. And that also comes with not being out at a bar and just eating whatever they have. You can choose. You really think about what goes in what you consume. When you take that out, then everything else you consume, you can really focus on that more. The ingredients, where it comes from, all that. You know, is it possible for this to be local or anything of that sense? So you think that that was a better habit. I'm viceless now. There are no, like, I can't
Zero vices.
I can't fall back on anything right now. So it's yeah,
Zero.
caffeine, if you want to call that a vice.
Okay. Well,
It is.
yeah, that's an interesting question, like how one would describe a vice. Do you have any means? Because not all, it's difficult to deal with all stresses
Mm.
head on, right? When they happen. So, um, what coping mechanisms do you have now?
Lately, I've been able to handle it slightly better. Just the fact I'm sleeping better, so I can get into work, and when as opposed to getting there like right on time. Just making it through the day and then getting home and then just repeating that cycle, that thing. I've been getting there early, getting a head start on things, and then it makes when your brain isn't foggy from the day before and the day before that, and the day before that, and the day before that. Usually you can handle things.
How have you been able to deal with being out? I mean, I guess, are you just not going out, or you're just not
Not really.
allowing yourself to be tempted by it? Do you feel like you could go out and not be tempted by it?
I wouldn't go to a place where the only activity is people drinking.
Okay.
That would not be a thing I would do.
So,
Because
like a
that,
bar,
right.
you wouldn't go to a bar.
Unless I was playing a gig where there was a band that I really wanted to see that was playing at, or there was some other reason to be there besides just congregating and drinking. I would not want to do that.
What about non-alcoholic beer? Was that ever an option?
It is, but I never had it. At this point, I've gotten totally fine with not even putting that in my palate.
Yeah.
That I'm better. I think I feel better
Okay.
not putting that flavor. Not getting that flavor back.
And how has it impacted your marriage?
It's helped. It's given us this. I mean, not that it was. It's done nothing but put us in a better place together. That it's a whole new thing to talk about, to grow with, to learn about each other. Because I mean, basically, we are two people that we both didn't know before. We when we met, we were both drinking, and we've been both that person. So we both independently changed. And I'd say this is the biggest change each of us have had since we met each other. That we did it together, and I'd say there's personality traits. I would probably say that both of us have changed. So that could have gone. It could have been a surprise, but I think it's been for the better.
And how much of your day now? You said you used to think about alcohol
Yeah.
before. How much of your day now do you think about maybe not drinking?
Not a lot. Not a lot. I mean, it's always going to be there. It's always going to be a subject in my mind, but it's less and less now. Um, it's Yeah, not. I think it. I definitely think of not drinking a lot less than I thought about drinking
when you used to
when I
drink?
used to drink, because it was a huge part of my culture.
Um, so now that you don't drink, I guess how long has it been? Like
2 years, almost 2 years.
almost 2 years. Um, what new? I guess we've talked about what new rituals you had when you first started, but have
Hmm.
you developed certain rituals now that you feel like you know that since you've encompassed them into your life, you're never gonna drink again? Do you ever feel like you will drink again?
No, no, no. I don't. I can't see any positive reason to do it. Um, I don't. I shouldn't say never, but I don't see any reason why I wouldn't
And
pick
so
it back up.
what have you added to your life right now that you're sort of at a steady state? You're not.
I mean, we've added new hobbies. I mean, we do in the summer we go out in the river with kayaks and paddle boards, and then we also go rock climbing, indoor rock climbing, outdoor rock climbing. We do that a little bit. More definitely more physical. Like
Sorry, hang on a second. What are your long term right now ways that you're using to uh,
to cope, fill the gap,
yeah.
fill the void. Well, it's actually now at a point where there isn't a void to be filled. There isn't a there's not much need for coping. It's I always have something I always have a drink like a sparkling water or the things in my toolbox, as Laura would call it. The would be make sure you always have like hot tea if that's whatever you replaced it with, you make
Mhm.
sure you have that. It's
Available?
always available. So in a sense, that could be controlling me, but I'd rather have that there than the alcohol.
Um, Now alcohol is a very social drug.
Mm.
How and I know that you say how has it affected your friendships that were kind of built around drinking?
There are definitely probably some friends that don't know. I mean, pandemic didn't help with that, but there are some friends I may never, besides passing by, I know that our friendships were solely pretty much based around drinking. If not, it was a huge factor that we would not probably not be able to hang out now,
Um,
which is sad. But I need to know what I can do to continue. And
and have what about do you have some friendships that have grown stronger as a result of?
oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I'll leave those to the side, but like yeah, the answer is yes. Yeah.
Okay. I'm thinking, like I like to drink, right?
Mm-hmm. We have in the past together.
Yes, we have.
Yeah.
I like to drink, and um, but I feel as though I don't need it,
Mm-hmm.
but it's a social lubricant, right?
Oh
So
yeah.
I like to sit and tell stories with people and joke and laugh sober,
Mm-hmm.
but with drinking, it like enhances the uh, the environment.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't consider myself an alcoholic, but I'm like, man, this really makes everything better. And maybe it's not what it's doing to me, but it's what it's doing to people around me. I don't know, right? Do you know what I mean? That
Mm-hmm.
like you're going, oh, this person's loosened up now because they're drinking. So how
Yeah.
do you miss that aspect of it?
Sometimes.
Yeah. And
But I'm also, yeah, sometimes I'm also fine, just not, you know, it's not.
because again, for me, it's like I was telling my wife like my superpower or whatever, we were having a discussion about that. Like what what I struggled with most in 2020 was not being able to interact with people
Hmm.
as much as I like to, and so for me, it really, you know, having that way to interact with people is like a big deal. But if it's not for you, right? It's
It was. I mean, I'm, probably more of an introvert than I realized.
mm,
I like hanging at home. I get along with my dogs sometimes more than people. Sometimes,
yeah.
not all. I mean, that's just, they don't. It's not a back and forth conversation with them, but you know.
Now, I understand that you and your wife helped each other through it. Do
Hmm.
you think you would have even made the decision if you weren't married or married to your wife?
It's hard to say, but at least I would lean towards no. That I would not have made this decision. You
Why?
know, because it really like when we both realized we came to this. It was almost like when we both realized we each would have each other through it. We even got to the next step of making a decision and making a strong decision. Because one, if we weren't both on the same page, one could have talked the other. I don't know. What I'm saying, but um, yeah, I lean towards no, but it's hard to say.
And how much stronger do you feel like, is my last question, do you feel like this has made you as a person?
Um,
And that's a,
I think it's maybe more aware, more. Um, I mean, it's maybe. I mean, just in the sense of just feeling healthier, feeling more awake when you are awake, feeling like when you are. It's like. If you ever have like an old car and you bought a new car, everything's better. Every little bit of that transitions, everything you experience is going to be better. That's you're going to be more aware. You're going to. I mean, maybe not that's hard to explain that, but that's just how it feels to live the sober life. Because there are moments when you're not intoxicated, but just imagine those feeling great, but then make that your entire life. If that makes sense.
makes sense to me.